You know that feeling, right? You start with a perfect plan, a really clear goal, and then boom. Somewhere along the way, everything just unravels into total chaos. Deadlines get missed, people aren't talking, and everyone's frustrated. It happens to all of us, at work and in our personal lives. But what if all that chaos isn't just, bad luck?
It is so easy to start pointing fingers, isn't it? We blame the market, or that one difficult person on the team, or just the clock moving too fast. We look at the chaos as the enemy itself. But what if the real problem isn't out there at all? What if we're looking in completely the wrong direction? The ancient strategist Sun Tzu had a thought on this. He believed that disorder is rarely the actual root cause of our problems. It's more like a symptom. It's a direct reflection of how we lead. And that goes for whether we're leading a company, a family, or even just ourselves. The chaos we see on the outside, it's often just a mirror of the chaos going on inside. So, what's the fix? Well, Sun Tzu gives us this timeless, three-part framework for turning that chaos back into clarity. And we're going to walk through these three pillars together. First, creating deliberate order. Second, building what he called unshakable morale. And third, maintaining calm command. This is basically our roadmap for leading well, especially when the pressure is on.
Okay, first up is order. Now, let's be clear. This is not about being some rigid, bureaucratic micromanager. Not at all. Think of it more like creating clarity. It's just about making sure everyone knows their role, that the standards are consistent for everybody, and that your instructions are so clear they literally can't be misunderstood. That clarity, that's the foundation for everything else.
So once we have that foundation of clarity, we can build the second pillar on top of it, morale. You can think of morale as the emotional fuel for any group. It's that collective spirit, that deep trust that holds a team together when things get tough. And it doesn't just happen by accident. Sun Tzu tells us it has to be deliberately built by a leader through fairness, respect, and a mission that everyone actually believes in. And that brings us to our final pillar, calm command. And this might just be the most important of all. It's the leader's ability to stay steady and make smart, rational decisions, especially when everyone else is starting to panic. A leader's composure isn't just a personality trait, it's a strategic asset. It creates this kind of fortress of stability that protects the entire team from getting swept up in reactive chaos. All right, so we've got our three pillars. But what happens when they're weak, or maybe they're not there at all? Let's start by looking at the real-world costs of failing to build that foundational sense of order. Sun Tzu is really blunt about this. He basically says, if your orders aren't understood, that's your fault as the leader. Mixed signals are absolute poison for a team. They cause people to hesitate, they create confusion, and over time they just chip away at the trust that holds everything together. But when the standards are crystal clear, you create psychological safety. People know exactly where the lines are and what's expected, and that allows them to move forward with real confidence.
And what's really amazing is how these ancient ideas connect directly to things we deal with every single day. Just look at this. Clear commands aren't just a nice to have. They create real operational efficiency. Method and discipline, that's not about being a robot. It's about getting predictable performance. And my personal favorite, pondering and deliberating, that simple act of pausing to think is what stops us from getting sucked into that reactive, frantic mode where we make our biggest mistakes.
Okay, so with a strong foundation of order in place, now we can really turn our attention to the heart of the team, its people. And that brings us to our second pillar, where we're going to focus on how to build a team spirit that can handle pretty much anything. This is hands down one of the most powerful lines in all of the art of war. It completely reframes what leadership is. It's not about authority, it's about an act of service, an act of profound care. When people feel like you genuinely have their backs, their loyalty becomes almost unbreakable. So what does that look like in the real world? Well, this isn't about being soft. It's about being deeply fair. It means providing consistent support, especially when things go wrong. It means recognizing people for their hard work and uniting everyone around a vision that actually means something. At the end of the day, morale is really built on a simple foundation of fairness and respect. And this line just says it all, doesn't it? It shows the direct link between a leader's state of mind and the team's performance. Your emotional state isn't just your own. It belongs to the group. When you stay calm under pressure, you're giving your team a psychological fortress. Your stability becomes their stability, and that allows them to focus on the goal instead of all the noise.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but the real test is whether we can actually apply it. So let's get really practical. In this next section, we're going to take these ancient ideas and apply them to 3 everyday situations that I think we all can relate to.
Okay, picture a big project deadline. The chaotic approach is to panic, work crazy hours, and burn everybody out. The calm command approach, it's about setting clear priorities, defining the very next step for each person, and then just executing with focus. See, that order and calm prevents the frantic energy that almost always leads to mistakes.
And these same ideas are absolutely critical in our personal relationships. When a conflict comes up, our gut reaction is often to get angry. But as the old Stoic philosophers knew, anger is a very brief and very costly madness. A leader in a relationship, and we all lead at different times, chooses patience instead. They listen first, they think, they understand that a calm, gentle approach will always be more powerful than a loud, angry one.
So what about leading yourself? Well, if you want to build better habits, you can bring that same deliberate order to your own environment. Make the good habits you want incredibly easy to do, and make the bad habits really difficult or even impossible. You want to stop snacking on junk food? Just don't keep it in the house. See, it's not really about willpower. It's about designing your world for success.
So we've covered the what and the why. Now it's time for the how. In this final section, I want to give you a simple, powerful tool that you can start using the second this explainer is over.
I call this the Calm Command Brief. It's a really simple 3-step exercise designed to cut right through the noise. First, just pick one thing that's causing you stress right now. Second, write down only the objective facts. No story, no emotion, just what is. And third, define the very next single physical action you can take to move forward. This little practice forces clarity and shifts you from feeling overwhelmed to feeling in control.
And that really brings us to the core lesson here. Victory isn't won in the heat of the moment. It's won because of the preparation, the discipline, and the order you put in place long before a crisis ever shows up. The best leaders make it look easy, but that's only because they've already done the hard, quiet work of building clarity and trust from the very beginning. So this isn't just ancient philosophy. It's a super practical guide for navigating our modern lives. The question I want to leave you with is this: where in your life, at work, in a relationship, or with a personal goal, will you apply a little calm command today? If you found this helpful, we're going to be exploring even more of these timeless strategies in our next explainer. You can find the entire series in our playlist. Thanks for joining me.